All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of 27 Talks. I'm Ryan. Today, we're celebrating 20 years in wireless with the founder of 27 Technology Group. Today, we're welcoming BJ. It is 20 years in wireless. That is 2 decades. It is a ton of experience under his belt here. BJ, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about 27 Tech. I know we're a co-sell partner, but there's much more to it than that. And then we'll jump into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is BJ Olson. I'm the founder of 27 Technology Group. We are a mobility co-sell partner who really accelerates in helping the customers understand the technology that's being presented to them from the wireless front, right? We've got over 500 years of experience right now across 28 individuals on our team, and we are here to help make the reps' jobs easier, whether it is closing deals, whether it is finding deals, whether it is saving deals. We are here to do that. And my journey started actually August 28th, 2006. So yeah, 20 years almost on the nose. And it has been an absolute incredible ride. I've seen so much happen over this last 2 decades. It's been an exciting and a very rewarding career. So thank you for having me on and very much looking forward to this.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. So 20 years in wireless, when you hear that number, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Wow. You know, when you are in school, especially when I was in school, right, like wireless wasn't an option to take, right? I could take auto mechanics or I could take, computer program, but there wasn't a class for wireless, right? So when I had the opportunity to get into wireless back in 2006, I didn't know if this was just going to be a winter job, me working in a kiosk, or that it would actually turn out to be 20 years of actually understanding and being a part of one of the most growing pieces of technology, of humankind. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. I just got lucky and I picked the right industry. So, if I look back over those 20 years, it's been an incredible ride and I'm just so fortunate to be a part of it.
Absolutely. So, for anybody who doesn't know your story, how did you first get into this industry?
Yeah, well, yeah. So, all right. Before, I was doing Verizon. I was in the banking industry, and then I was in the medical supply industry, and I just was trying to figure out my way, right? And I was actually a national account manager for a startup medical supply company, and I had the entire East Coast. I was like 24, 25 years old, with the entire East Coast traveling, and I loved it, right? But I had just gotten married and just had my first child, and I remember it was probably 3 months after having my first child, I was gone 26 days out of the month. And me and my wife had to have that discussion about what I really wanted for my future. So with that, I started looking around something a little bit closer to home that I didn't have to do a lot of traveling. And I had a friend he was working for Verizon at the time. He was actually just working in a store at Verizon in the heyday, 2006. And he was telling me how much money that he was making selling wireless. I'm like, no way. That's just insane. I'm out there making, selling medical supplies to these big companies, and I'm not making what you're making. So I decided to dive in and went through the interview process. Again, I knew nothing about wireless, but I had the drive, one, to learn, and two, I've always been really good with leading, right? And I guess just a natural leader, and they saw that in me. So I started out in the wireless side as a kiosk manager. Started August 28th, 2006, as I mentioned. The reason why I remember that date is that was the very first date I'd ever sent a text message in my entire life. I'm in initial wireless, and the instructor is saying, for us to all send a text message of our employee ID to our boss, and I actually had to ask the guy next to me how to do a text message. So from that moment on, my knowledge of wireless, my understanding of how everything works just continued to compound. And what I saw once as just a flip cell phone now became this tool that was able to do a lot more than whatever, I had anticipated in my mind. And now this was something that continued to grow, and my curiosity continued to grow with it as well. So started out as a kiosk manager, got thrown to the wolves. I remember my first experience for Black Friday. I'm in a kiosk. We were doing, it was Motorola Razors, buy one, get three free. And we sold like 150 Motorola Razors on new lines of service that day. It was absolutely insane. Came in at 3 o'clock in the morning and we worked till midnight. I mean, that was the day when Black Friday was an absolute event. And I turned around and I looked at in the mirror after that day and I was like, what did I get myself into? But I also realized that this was a technology that everybody was just rushing for, right? If you could be that busy in one day with people wanting this new amazing technology, like this was something that was going to stick. So I rode the wave of retail for a couple years, and then I got into the world of B2B, where I really felt most confident, and I had the most success, because when I was on the medical supply side, that's all I'd ever done was B2B sales. So doing the retail stuff for me at first was really it was totally different. I'd never done anything like it. So now I got to go back into the B2B side, and I loved it. I got to flourish. And I've always had that mindset that I'm willing to do what other people aren't in order to succeed. So I had the state of South Dakota. I had the entire state of South Dakota. And for anybody who knows anything about South Dakota, it's very vast. We have a few select cities and a whole lot of open area in between. And I made it a mission that when I was out there spreading the good word of Verizon, that I would stop at every single little town and drop off business cards at the local post office or grocery store and put up a little flyer or whatever. And just those little things that nobody else was doing at the time absolutely helped me take my game to the next level. And my career just kind of took off from there, and finished out my career with Verizon on the network fleet side, spent a year on the network fleet side in the enterprise space. Left Verizon, went over to to CenturyLink, got recruited by CenturyLink, and had a really, big title, big job, corner office, great pay. But I went from wireless and everything that I was passionate about for the last 10 years, and now I went to wire lines, and now I had to start really asking customers where their location was and where they're using service, something that I wasn't used to. So I only spent a year there before I went back to the Verizon side, on the indirect side, actually, as an indirect account director, and did that for a few years before venturing out on my own and deciding to get that entrepreneurial bug going. Opened up some You Break I Fix electronic repair stores in Iowa and Minnesota, and had the opportunity after a couple of years to sell that responsibility off and then really look for the next thing. And that was 2019. And I, at that time, didn't really know anything other than B2B, other than wireless and phones. So the only thing that kind of come natural to me was finding something again in the wireless space. And my boss, former boss at the time, Eric Martinson, had told me about the indirect about the co-sell opportunities. So just kind of on a whim started 27 Tech, and built 7 years later something that I'm absolutely incredibly proud of. Like I mentioned, we got 28 individuals right now with over 500 years of experience carrying the bag, leading the teams, and understanding exactly what reps go through each and every day when it comes to hitting those goals and servicing those customers. So I know that's a long intro to the question that you asked, but again, I'm so passionate about what I do that a lot of times I'll suck the air out of the room.
Yeah, no, that's a great overview for sure. I think let's break this down a little bit further. So the early years, I know we kind of touched on it. So circa early to mid 2000s. What was the wireless landscape like when you started? The carriers, the technology, the sales model, so on and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started, my very first phone was the LG Chocolate, right? So this was the days of the LG VX 8300 was huge. The LG VX 9800 was huge. And then when it came to smartphones, this was the days when smartphones were so new. Smartphones were there, but everybody was a little bit scared of them because we had these things called Blackberries. And with Blackberries, we had to set up Blackberry enterprise servers. And and we had these Windows devices, and the smartphone landscape was so incredibly complicated back then that it was an area that a lot of people kind of stepped back from, but it was one that I kind of dove into. I was that nerd that had to figure out, well, how all this stuff worked. But that was the landscape at the time. Smartphones were not the big thing. When we were selling phones, it was just voice only at the time. And then we got to see some of the amazing things evolve from there. But the landscape was no one would have guessed we would be here today where we were 20 years ago when it comes to wireless.
Yeah, I remember the days of, what was it, the Windows smartphones and the $30 unlimited data plans that we, thought were too expensive then, but now it looks very cheap for what it was. But absolutely, it's come a long way.
And if you wanted internet in your laptop, you had to have one of those PC card slots slid into the side of your laptop because we didn't even have anything Wi-Fi capable at the time.
Oh yeah, it was wild. So I know you touched on your first role, but what was that, and what did it teach you, or what did you learn when you were?
Yeah,
at
so
that kiosk?
my first role was a Verizon kiosk manager, and oh man, it taught me so much. One, how much inventory and how much paperwork and how many things that the leadership at Verizon had to do then, and they still have a ton of things that they had to do now. But it made me appreciate all of the processes that Verizon put in place to ensure that when I was running a store, that things were going to be at the top of their game. And back then it was a shirt and tie every single day, regardless if you were in a kiosk or if you were in a store. You counted inventory every single day. You got all these reports that you had to manually go through, and then you had audits twice a year. So the time I spent with Verizon in the early time, especially in the retail side, it taught me how to really inspect a little bit more out of myself, and also out of out of the businesses that I work with. It taught me a lot about process and a lot about understanding the bigger picture. And then not only do you have to deal with the inventory, but now you also have these employees that you have to manage, and you have to ensure that they're learning the technology as it's coming out, just alongside as you're learning it. So it was the early days of Verizon really helped shape who I am now as a business leader. And that's the one thing that I will forever be grateful for Verizon. They invested so much time, energy, and effort and training into me that it shaped me to be the business leader that I am today. And I will be forever grateful for that.
Right on. Was there any moment early on, in those early days at the kiosk, where you thought, this is what I want to build a career on? Was that ever a thought in your mind?
At the time, it wasn't. It was so weird because at the time it was something new. Not everybody had cell phones. When I came into this industry, it was about, 1 in 4 people had a cell phone. It was just, it was a fad, right? We didn't know if it was going to last. We didn't know how long it was going to go. We didn't know how big it was going to become. So to think about having a future in it, beyond just the natural growth with a company, right? Oh, I want to be a manager, a director, a lead, just that straight up path. But, getting to where I am now, I would have never dreamed in a million years it was possible the first day that I ever stepped into Verizon training.
Gotcha. Were there any mentors or formative experiences that shaped how you operate today from way back then?
Yes. So I've always been a huge sayer of, every day is an interview because you never know who is going to be your boss, right? So throughout my career with Verizon, I made it a point to reach out and to get to know as many people and as many channels as I possibly could, and to, go above and beyond anytime that they ever needed me for anything, right? Because someday I might need to call on them. And then once I started 27 Technology Group, all of those people that I've learned and met across my career have now advanced. So now they recognize me. They realize the person who I was then and the person who I'm now. It's a lot easier to build trust. But yeah, my philosophy then and now still to this day is every day is an interview. You never know who's going to be your boss or who's who you're going to need in your corner. So you have to live with that sort of mentality in order to be successful in this industry.
Right on. And just having worked with you for, I mean, on and off for close to, 10 years now, I guess, or something like that. I mean, something I've seen in you maybe is, under promise, over deliver. Is that something you would say is true about yourself?
Yes. I always look for that wow moment every single time I can give it, right? Because that's going to be the thing that people remember the most. The time that you went above and beyond for the customer, for the rep, for the person as an individual. And I'm also that person that when I receive that wow moment or that wow experience, I'm going to blow it up and I'm going to make sure everybody else knows how incredible this business, this person, this organization was to work with. Because I think those wow moments, especially in wireless, especially now that we've moved to a lot more of a service industry, are incredibly important. So to your point, Ryan, yes, under promise and over deliver has kind of been my philosophy throughout my career.
Right on. Let's talk a little bit about the evolution of the industry. I know we touched on it briefly, but there's been some big inflection points, right? 3G to 4G, 4G to 5G. Let's chat about those. Let's walk through, what those have been like for you and what you've seen, what you've learned through those inflection points.
Yes. So I remember the days of VCast video when VCast was like the new thing, how you could actually download a song over your phone. And that was huge. I mean, it took an hour to download one song over your phone, but you could do it, right? And you could do it in certain markets, which was also something that's crazy, that you'd have to go to a big city in order to get VCast capabilities, because some of these rural communities were still 1x RTT, right? So it's insane to think about. And then I can remember when VCast TV, right? There was a couple of phones that came out where you could actually watch TV, again, in a few cities and a few areas. But just knowing that the technology back then in the early 2000s was there to stream a broadcast over a network to a phone was pretty telling of what was to come. And then to watch the evolution really take off when the smartphone came into play. Blackberries, they started revolutionizing things with, I know the Storm was supposed to be the iPhone killer, which it never was, but everything that came out thereafter and even there before was pretty solid, right? But then when the iPhone came out and Verizon got it, it was an absolute game changer, and it just continued to dominate. And then when the Android operating system, people, they started to go their certain direction. I'm either an iPhone person or I'm an Android person, and be able to see how not only the industry and the technology evolved, but how people started to really become aware of the brands with inside the technology and started to follow, certain pieces of hardware now. I mean, it was just insane. This technology that we never thought could even exist. And now there's people who are brand loyal to a specific type of hardware that exists within this segment of business, which is just insane to think of. But again, amazing.
Yeah, it's just wild. I mean, the days, back in the 2000s, there were so many phones to choose from, right? And now, I mean, you've got this iPhone, that iPhone, and maybe a few Androids. And it's just wild, right? I mean, over the years, we've seen maybe hardware's become a little less exciting. I would say back in the 2000s, it was, revolutionary, certain aspects of phones. The Motorola Razr, you mentioned that one being so thin and everything. But, I mean, would you say, what are your thoughts on the phone landscape today? Let's touch on that.
Yeah, it is interesting because, back in the day when I started out in a kiosk, you're right, our inventory was crazy because we had, 20 different SKUs of every single phone because there was different colors and different memory sizes, this, that, and the other. And, as things evolved and now it's a complete smartphone environment, we don't even have much for colors because it's all black. It's all screen, right? So color really doesn't matter. It comes down to capability, solutions that it offers. So again, it also changes the mindset because back in the day when we used to think about things like color, battery, does it have an extended battery or not? Now that is the furthest thing from our mind. And it's like, okay, how fast is it? What size camera does it have? And we've been able to watch this thing that was once a phone now replace so many things. It's our GPS, it's our we got a calculator now with us everywhere. It's our internet, it's our AI. Now we have a person or a chat bot capability to just sit there and speak to, right? The cell phone, the smartphone has changed the way that our society has completely functioned over these last 20 years from, doing a simple flip phone and the commercial being, can you hear me now, being the biggest problem that we have across the network, to now it's like, all right, how fast can you get it to me? Can you get me a gig speed over the air? And what is incredible is now the answer is yes. So seeing all of this transformation, seeing all of this change from device to network has it's been just insane. I mean, it's like we're building spaceships around here.
I love that. Well, let's talk about unified communications as a service. That's kind of like what One Talk is, and that, I mean, ironically, is about 10 years old this month as well. What's the landscape been like on that? What's that look like?
Yeah, coming in at such an ideal time into the co-sell space with One Talk was incredible for not only myself, but for the company, for, all of the people that we've got in our organization, and especially having people come from the environment of Verizon to dive in and become a co-sell partner, to understand what having good implementation really, really means, because we've all had that upset customer. So when One Talk became the primary thing for us to be able to work with these Verizon reps, it was incredible. We were able to really dive into the technology and simply focus on one thing and one thing only, and that was to be the masters of our craft when it comes to One Talk. And we already knew how to take care of the customers. We already knew how to take care of the Verizon reps, and we already knew the Verizon landscape. So the only thing that we really had to focus on was mastering One Talk, and then simply taking care of customer requests. Repeat over and over again. And that's what we excel in, blocking and tackling. One Talk all day long. We are the masters of it.
Right on. Beyond 10 years ago, I mean, did something like One Talk exist? And when One Talk entered the landscape, how did it change things?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. So voice over IP has been around for an awful long time, right? But the way that it is now being done with One Talk is so night and day different than the way it was done 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? And in people's minds, we're having to change that mindset. So you don't need servers and all this really expensive equipment for One Talk, because now we have things like the cloud and we have things like the Verizon network now to support the infrastructure to make things like One Talk possible, right? We have essentially the world's largest cell phones and smartphones that are built into a physical desk phone style device now at your fingertips that can be deployed anywhere. So Verizon really started to revolutionize really the way voice over IP is done in this industry because of the new devices that they brought into the landscape. And to be honest with you, had Verizon not got into the voice over IP landscape, we wouldn't be anywhere near having devices that have cellular capabilities built into desk phones. We would still be plugging them in to our, internet lines in our wall and relying on our local ISPs to provide internet connections to us and phone services. So by Verizon getting into the One Talk space, it absolutely changed the game and the industry entirely.
Absolutely. Along those lines, what's a piece of technology outside of One Talk maybe, or a business model from early in your career that seems almost unrecognizable today, much like One Talk is, I suppose?
Well, honestly, the routers, the routers back in the day, when we would think of it, it was just literally to power one device at a time, or a couple of instances where it would be done or used for a backup solution with very, very minimalistic data throughput. Right now we have the capabilities with these routers to be wireless primary connections in a lot of spaces, right, that can provide throughput that's faster than some of the local ISPs can provide. So when I look at where things have really changed, it has been in the router game, right? Back then, we were looking at, low megabyte connections, and now we're looking at gigabyte throughputs. So it is no longer that backup secondary might work in a pinch thing. It's hey, I can completely operate my business off this if I need it. And if nothing else, it's a amazing, solid, redundant connection. So for a business person, if you're just relying on a fiber connection and you don't have a secondary, redundant, connected connection over a wireless network, you are missing the game. Talk to me and we will get you taken care of.
Yeah. All it takes is one guy in a backhoe to take your internet down if you're on fiber. So
yes.
What hasn't changed? Despite all the technology shifts that we've seen, that you've seen, what's remained steady?
What's remained steady in this industry is that everything changes. That's the only one thing that's been contained consistent, is that everything changes. And I remember early in my Verizon career, we had to take a class, and it was all about being a change agent and what it meant being in this landscape, because it was evolving so much at the time that we had to be willing to pivot on a dime, because we didn't really know what the future of this could really be. And I still say that that's true to this day, because of how AI is now becoming a factor, how satellite communication is now becoming a factor, and all of these other things are now becoming a factor that, our traditional sense of wireless as we know it today will be different in 5 years. Hell, it'll be different in 2 years. So being a change agent is so important in this industry. The one thing that doesn't change is the fact that it does change.
Absolutely. And I love that was your answer, because it brings me to my next topic here, founding Twenty7 Technology Group. And I would say that's what we help customers do every day, right? Implement change.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing, I think a lot of times when wireless gets sold to a business, the expectation is that they understand how to implement it to the best of its capabilities. A lot of times wireless reps will sell a solution to solve one problem, but getting us involved, we can unlock all of those other things that the solution can really help them. And it makes the solution, the product, become a lot more sticky. And yes, we get rave reviews based on simply allowing those customers to, breathe easy when it does come time to change that new technology.
So let's talk about that, founding 27 Technology Group. What's the origin story? This is your entrepreneurial chapter of your life. What made you want to take that leap, and what did that look like?
Yeah, it was kind of an interesting story. I had, just had an opportunity, like I mentioned, to sell off a portion of my You Break I Fix stores, and had kind of coming out of a sour business relationship there after that as well. So I was looking for that next thing, and I didn't know if I wanted to get back into the world of entrepreneurship, or if I was going to get back into the world of working for somebody else. And I started out, I worked for 3 weeks for a copier company. So I went back to work, and I'm like, all right, I'll go sell B2B and I'll sell copiers. And I realized after 3 weeks that this was not for me, right? I remember I was in the shower getting ready for work, and I came out of the shower, and my wife's like, just looked at me. She's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, I don't think I can do this anymore. I need to do my own thing. I need to be free, and I need to do something that I'm super passionate about. And she said, do it. we'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to make it work financially or whatever, but just do it. Follow your dream. And, without her saying that, I would have never been able to, take that first step forward with 27 Tech. And then I knew by having her in my corner that I couldn't let her down amongst anybody. So I had to give it 110% every single day. And, that's really the origin and how things started with 27 Tech. My wife gave me permission to start it, essentially. She gave me permission to follow my dream. And because of that, here we are 7 years later with 500 years of experience and 28 individuals who are just absolutely killing it with the carriers.
I would say that speaks huge volumes to you, by the way. I mean, all these relationships you have forged, me being one of them. We came over, we believed in, what you were doing, joined the team, and here we are all today. It's a success for sure. Is there a story behind the name? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, you're right. So 27 Tech, right? So that's the number one question I get asked all the time. So what is it behind the name, right? So when I started 27 Tech, I was just trying to think of anything that would stand out, anything that would just kind of be next level. And I remember talking to one of my buddies on a couch, and I was like, "Hey, man, what should I call this company?" He's like, "What's your favorite number?" And I just blurted out 27. He's like, "Perfect, 27 Tech." I'm like, okay, makes sense. My birthday's on the 27th. My daughter's birthday's on the 27th. My brother's birthday's on the 20th. 27 just pops up all the time in our lives. And then now my kids, when they played sports, 27 was always their sports number. And it's just been always something that's kind of been special to me. So then having the company that is as special to me as my favorite number, you can only imagine just anytime I hear that 27, there's just a little bit of a sense of pride, And to one thing speaking of pride, to one thing that you had mentioned earlier, I would have to say that that's probably the thing that I'm most proud of with 27 Tech is not only the work that we do, but the vision that is shared by so many people, you being one of them, Ryan, that see the benefits in taking an opportunity and working with a wireless rep to get the deal across the line and allowing them to go and do the thing that they do best, go out and sell, and don't worry about your customer. We're going to take care of them. We're going to give them the experience that's going to give them that wow feeling, right? And to find 27 other individuals outside of myself who could follow that same vision. And back to my original thing when I said every day is an interview. You never know who's going to be your boss. Across my career, I met so many incredible individuals, and I always thought, and again, you being one of them, Eric and Travis and all these other guys that we've got working for our organization is like, man, these are some amazing people. Tina, and it's like if I ever had the opportunity to put together a dream team of reps, like, who would it be? And now I'm working with these people, right? I'm working with all of these people who would be on my dream team list of people that I've worked with for the past 20 years. And now we are all on the same team, marching down the same direction and following, the same dream. So it's like literally one team, one dream, but I've been able to build the team and the dream. So it's awesome. I couldn't be more proud of what we've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And congratulations, by the way. I mean, I think it's an order for sure. 20 years, and here you are today with the dream team, as you say. When you founded 27 Tech, what gap were you trying to fill in the market, or was there a gap you were trying to fill?
The gap that I was trying to fill when I formed 27 Tech was really more the gap on the consumer side, right? On the B2B consumer side. So I saw so many times when I was a B2B rep that we would sell this solution and, day one, it would work as they wanted it to, but then day two, day three, it became a little bit harder for the customer to understand how to use because I wasn't there holding their hand anymore, right? And I knew that if I did that as a rep, it would suck up all of my time and I wouldn't be able to go out and sell and find all the other opportunities that I could. So as a successful rep, you have to find that balance of both, right? Being able to service your customers, yet find new customers. So when I created 27 Tech, I'm like, all right, let me take the hard work off of these reps' plate. And in my mind, when I was a rep, the hard work was all of the after the sell stuff that you've already got paid for, but now you've got to make sure that sticks, right? So I want to take all of that heavy lifting off of the plate. And for some of these new reps, it's even the sale. I mean, we've got 7 President's Cabinet winners on our team right now, and they don't get those titles very easily, right? You have to be extremely good and extremely driven. So even for new reps that are in the industry, bringing deals to us, we will help them close those deals and nurture those deals start to finish. And the finish line isn't at the sale. The finish line is when the customer says they're finished with this piece of technology and they want to know from us what's the next piece that we can implement. We build relationships forever. And that's why we started the forever service, right? We provide service to our One Talk customers, not for 6 months, not for a year, and then we start charging them something. We provide for all of our Verizon corporate reps that we work with 100% customer support forever, right? We even take care of a lot of customers who weren't even ours that we set up in the beginning because we know how important it is to earn that business from these Verizon reps. So yeah, it's been an incredible journey. And the problem that we're trying to solve is the same problem that's existed from day one. There's just not enough time in the day, right? We want to give time back to these reps so that they can go do the things that they need to do to be successful, and we want to ensure that they continue to get paid and that their customers are happy to enhance those relationships.
Absolutely. What was harder than you expected, starting this company throughout the first year or two, and maybe what surprised you in a good way?
What was harder than I expected? Verizon's huge, right? Verizon is a big company, right? So being able to spread throughout the Verizon network and to, grow, right? Started out in South Dakota in the Midwest and grew to Minneapolis and Iowa, and then kind of expanded there. But then as we started picking up reps across the country, it was really important for me to make sure that I got them in contact with Verizon people that will help support them in their areas. So just underestimating the overall size and scope of what the Verizon channel actually offers, because again, we work a lot of times on the front line. We work with the reps who are in the field every single day, carrying the bag and knocking on the doors and, making the phone calls. Those are the reps and the relationships that we've had from day one. So to, get in with some of those upper level leadership type conversations, that was a little bit more difficult. But now proof is in the pudding. Now we're involved in those conversations. Now we're invited to the table when it comes to, co-sell conversations. And the only reason why we're there now is because we earned our spot at the table. Nobody gave it to us at all in the beginning. We got there through hustle. We got there through taking care of reps and customers day in and day out.
Absolutely. And we continue to do that every day. I see it in everything our team does, for sure. How would you describe the culture at 27 Tech, or the philosophy you set out to build? Has that been held?
Yeah. So I don't know about you, Ryan, but I've never had a bad day at work. I mean, I haven't. In 7 years, it is one of those things that, like, I wake up and I do what I've been passionate about for the last 20 years, and that's just taking care of people. And now I have a little bit more knowledge than the average Joe when it comes to wireless routers or cell phones or tablets or voice over IP solutions or whatever. And now I just want to share that with those customers, make sure they're utilizing those solutions how they're intended to be used, and then show those customers those secret unlock codes, the things that they weren't even thinking about when they brought these solutions into their business, on what they can do and how it can take their business to the next level. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love business philosophy, business growth, business ideas. And now for me to be able to deep dive with some of these different businesses and share with them how this technology can help them take their business to the next level, it's what I live for. I absolutely love the opportunity.
I love that. And I love hearing customer stories. Do you have any specific ones that stand out related to that? Just having implemented something that just worked out incredibly well for that customer?
Yeah, one of the customer stories that I often reflect on was an organization called Good Samaritan Society. So these guys have elder care facilities all across the country, and we were lucky enough to partner up with them. They had an innovation team, and they were trying to solve a problem that they have in a lot of these elder care facilities, and that's isolation. A lot of these older folks are starting to get isolated within their own rooms because their family members are becoming more distant, their friends are passing away, etc. So their world becomes a lot smaller. So we were tasked to work with their innovation team to figure out how to get some of these elderly people more involved into what's going in the outside world, right? So at the time, it was Google glasses were what we used, but now there's AI glasses that they can use for it. But you know, watching a farmer who is in an elder care facility and who wants nothing more than to be on his tractor during harvest, we were able to put like Google glasses and some recording devices on a tractor and just have this farmer go out and plow his field and communicate back and forth with these guys in this rec center for one of these Good Samaritan Society, and to watch these 60, 75, or 80, 90-year-old guys' eyes light up and have these conversations. And I mean, it was incredible. They were buddies instantly. And that was something that I will forever remember, because it was taking the technology that we kind of took for granted with things like FaceTime and Google Meets and the technology that you and I use every single day to communicate, and now just using it in a different way with a different application to a different group of individuals and watching it like absolutely make their day. So that was probably one of the highlights of my career, was helping discover this new way to use this technology for this organization.
That is so cool. That's some life-changing stuff for some folks out there, and connecting people. That's what it's all about, man. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So wins and lessons and hard moments. What's a win that you're most proud of? A client, a deal, a turning point?
You know, my win that I'm most proud of. I mean, obviously every deal I love, and every customer has a special part in my heart. But over my 20 years, I've been so involved in so many of them that it'd be hard to really pick one out. But what I am so proud of is the fact of what 27 Tech is, and the fact that we've been able to build it. Not I've been able to build it, we've been able to build it together, and to provide this amazing service to all these reps. So their wins with their customers now become our wins with their customers, right? So we celebrate those wins together, and it really creates a team environment, not only from the 27 Tech side team, but also the Verizon side team, right? We get to high five at the end of every single deal, and we get to win together. So those are the things I'm just most jacked on.
Right on. What's a mistake or a setback that taught you the most? I know starting a business, there's plenty of them, but what's one that taught you the most?
It's funny to think about now, but probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made was not realizing that this was a real business early enough. Right. When I started out just doing it myself, and then eventually Travis, coming on board, it was just two guys driving around South Dakota, plugging in some phones and helping people understand how to use their routers and tablets. Right. I don't want to say it was a hobby, because it was life to me. It was what I needed so that I didn't have to go back and work for somebody else. But to look back now and see what we've created, I think that, if I could tell myself on day one what I know now, it'd be like, hey, since you are taking this so seriously, invest in it early, right? Get the CRM that you need early, get the right marketing stuff that you need early, like invest in the tools and the partnerships and the people that you're going to need in order to take this to the next level. And now that's exactly where we're at. We're looking at, growing our team with the right people in the right situations and making it work for everybody. That's how we win together.
Right on. Yeah, if you believe in it, invest in it. I would say sums that up quite nicely. If you could go back and give 25-year-old BJ one piece of advice, what would that be?
Oof. Uh, Follow your dream, man. Like, honestly, I always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? And I think that you go to school and everybody's like, oh, I want to own my own business someday. But thinking of what that business is nearly impossible when you start to put the screws to it, unless you're extremely passionate about that, right? And I've thought about so many different things that I wanted to do over my lifetime, but when it came down to it, it was never anything that I was incredibly passionate about. Well, as soon as I knew that 27 Tech and Verizon and wireless communication was the thing that I wanted to make my future, I needed to jump and follow that dream, and more hardcore sooner. Right. That's the only thing that I regret is not doing this sooner and at a faster pace, like buying in day one, understanding that this is what's going to keep me and my family going and moving in the right direction and keep my customers and my reps and my partnerships, all happy. It's not a juggling act when it's fun. It's not a juggling act when everybody's happy. Right. It becomes a job when things become difficult. It becomes a job when, promises aren't met. It becomes a job when people are miserable at what they do. And I have not felt like I've had a job at 27 Tech ever. This is my future. Like, this is a career. This is my business. This is your business. This is all of our business. And that is the, main difference and the main driver.
What separates people who build a lasting career in this from those who, move out or move on?
Those who are willing to step outside their bubble and just go for it. I mean, if you are used to doing this same thing every day and following this path and being a robot, you're probably not going to be very successful in this industry, because we have to be chameleons and we have to be really, really good at being a change agent, right? Because every situation is different. Every business operates differently. Every customer utilizes the technology for a different reason, right? So having somebody who's got an open mind, who's flexible about how to do things, and then more importantly, to be a go-getter, right? If you've got that drive, if you've got that fight in the dog yet, and you want to control your own destiny and make, serious money, like, those are the people that we want. Those are the people who will succeed, the ones that have a little bit of drive and that absolutely want to accomplish it all. Those are the ones that will absolutely kill it with 27 Tech.
What does relationship business mean in practice? That's what we're focused on at 27 Tech. What does that mean in practice in the last 2 decades to you?
Relationship business is the golden rule, right? It is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. So I think of that in every partnership that I get into, whether it is with a frontline rep, whether it's with a manager and their team, whether it's with the director, higher leadership. I look at every one of these relationships as a partnership, right? How can I bring value? I don't ever want to be that partner that has my hands sticking out saying, give me, give me, give me. I want to be that partner who's going to provide value to you so that you want to include in deals with your customers, with your teams, with your opportunities, right? I want to be that go-to person because you have the faith and you have the trust that not only am I going to do the most amazing job out there, but I'm going to make you look like a hero every single chance that I get, because the better that you look, the more job security that I have, right? So I am here. I'm your ride or die. You are Batman. I am Robin, and we're here to win together.
I love that comparison, Batman and Robin, man. That's great. Where's the industry at today, and where's the company headed? Let's look ahead here a little bit.
Yeah, so the industry today is wild, and again, it's changing. Excuse me. The industry today is wild. It is changing so fast, and now we're starting to have conversations about how satellite technology is going to enhance the cellular experience. Right? I don't think it's going to replace the cellular experience by any means. Just the cellular experience and the infrastructure is just too mighty and too vast. But I do think that the satellite solutions will absolutely enhance the overall experience and provide coverage in areas that people weren't able to get high speed broadband coverage at before, right? And as far as our company, I want to be on the forefront of that, right? When it comes to new technologies that are going to enhance communications, whether it be satellite communications, whether it be AI communications, whether it be the next thing that Verizon or one of the carriers comes out with, like, I want to be on that forefront, because for the last 20 years, I've been on this incredible journey called communications, and it has changed 1,000 times in that 20 years. And I can't wait to see what the next 1,000 changes are going to be, because I haven't seen us go backwards once. Like, this is such an exciting industry. Like, again, if I could go back and tell my 18-year-old BJ, like, hey, this is what you should really focus on for your career, I would say 1,000,000% get into communications, figure out cellular, and like absolutely cherish everything that you do. If you love it, if you find passion in it, like, make it yours, because it's an incredible career.
Absolutely. What's next for 27 Technology Group? Do we have any goals, or what's next, in our playbook?
Yeah. So, for us, it continues to provide amazing service day in and day out, and growth. I want to, I never thought that we'd be at 28 people by now, 7 years into it. I want to see what happens when we get to 35 or 50 people, right? And as long as, these carriers continue to need support from outside sources with that co-sell partnership, like, we're here to help these frontline reps execute every opportunity that we can. So, like, we're here to grow. I want to never be able to say, oh, sorry, I can't help you with that because I'm too busy. I understand what it's like to have a good partner in place and a good company that can represent good partnerships. And it's my goal to continue to find that talent, put them on my team, and then reutilize that talent back to the carriers so that we can help them win.
I love that. What's next on the horizon as far as products or partnerships? Is there anything that you're excited about in that aspect?
The thing that I'm most excited about is really kind of looking at, some of the bonding capabilities that we have now with, a solution that we offer, Big Leaf, for instance, being able to bond that satellite connection with a cellular connection with a, fiber connection. That, I think, is something absolutely incredible. We've got that relationship with Big Leaf going. That's continuing to grow day in and day out with some really nice opportunities. So I think that's a big part of what the future is going to hold for us.
I love that. Yeah. Let's do some rapid fire personal side questions here, if you're good with that.
Yeah.
Best piece of advice you've ever received in business?
Don't hold back. Do it. Just do it. Nike says it best. Just do it.
Perfect. Favorite part of the job today versus 20 years ago?
Oh, man. Being able to take a minute to breathe and do things like this, like being able to actually tell our story and having somebody who's interested in hearing our story is something that is incredible to think about, that would have never existed. When we first got this going, I never thought anybody would want to hear from me other than the local team here in South Dakota. So now having a story to tell, and to somebody that it's actually going to matter to, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, man. One industry myth you'd love to bust?
One industry myth that I would love to bust. One industry myth, yeah, I would love to bust. So that a failover, a backup plan is good enough to actually put on a business who might have an outage. So I know it's the easiest, the lowest hanging fruit. It's the smallest plan, smallest data, and sometimes you just need that extra $10 or $20 activation to get for your customer. But the truth is, if their internet really ever goes out, they are going to fly through that data. And if there's any throttling involved, if there's any like it happens. I can tell you from personal experience with some of my other businesses, on a Saturday afternoon, if the fiber connection goes out, 2 gigs of data simply isn't enough. You'll use that in an hour. So I always tell people it's all about redundancy. It's not about backup. Put in an active, network communication with an active SIM, active router in place so that you can have something. So if the network goes out, it's an instant failover to an active unlimited plan versus something that's sitting there waiting to have an outage and only going to give you 2 gigs or 3 gigs or whatever the small data plan is that you're going to do for an allotment. So the myth I'd like to bust is go with redundancy over failover.
I love that, and I can't echo that enough. Absolutely. And if anybody wants help with that, tap us on the shoulder, bring us in.
Absolutely.
Let's see. What's your favorite coffee order, BJ?
Oh man, so it all depends. If I'm going there by myself, I'm just a medium roast, 2 pumps of caramel, and a little cream. But if I'm at a business meeting and I'm feeling a little saucy, I'm gonna just order whatever they're getting. Right? I like to adventure out a little bit and really get to understand what my customers like as well. So I'll have what they're having.
How do you like to unwind? The opposite of coffee, unless it is coffee.
I like to go fishing. So I love fishing. I'm in South Dakota. I got a place in northeast South Dakota, which is like the fishing capital of South Dakota. It's absolutely great. So for me to unwind on the weekend is to get out on the boat and to take some worms swimming.
What's something people would be surprised to know about you?
There's a lot. Well, I guess, yeah, okay. Biggest thing, so somebody would be surprised to know about me. I'm actually in the South Dakota history books for opening the very first medical marijuana dispensary in the state of South Dakota.
That would be surprising to know if I hadn't already known it. You've shared a lot, and we've given people a lot to think about here. So congratulations again on 20 years in wireless. If anybody wants to get a hold of you or learn more about 27 Technology Group, how do they get a hold of you?
Simply email me. It's that easy. bj@twenty7tech.com. 27 TWENTY, the number 7 tech.com. Had to make it very interesting and appealing from the beginning, as you remember. 27 being my favorite number, but again, I had to class it up a little bit, spelling it out, then throwing the number in there along the way.
It doesn't trick the spammers, does it?
No, not enough.
Well, perfect. Thanks again, BJ. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks.